I stood frozen in the doorway, clutching a chocolate cake I'd bought for myself, watching 4 pairs of eyes turn to ice as they looked at me. The silence felt like a physical blow. What exactly are we supposed to be celebrating? My mother's voice cut through the room. It's my birthday, I said, my words hanging awkwardly in the air. She waved her hand dismissively. That's not a reason to buy an expensive cake and expect everyone to drop everything. My stepsister Chelsea and her boyfriend actually laughed, real laughter that pierced deeper than any insult. That's when the truth hit me. They hadn't forgotten my birthday. They'd decided I didn't deserve one. The $40 I'd spent on that cake, more than I usually allowed myself for anything, suddenly felt like the price tag on my own worth in this family. Absolutely nothing. Looking back now, from the safety of my own home, I can see that moment for what it was, the turning point that finally set me free. I'm Kate. 27 now, though that 23rd birthday didn't exactly go as planned. To understand how I ended up standing in that dining room, cake in hand, being treated like an unwelcome stranger in my own home, we need to rewind. When my mom married Craig 7 years earlier, everything changed. My mom, who'd always been my fierce protector, transformed before my eyes. Craig brought his daughter Chelsea into our lives, and suddenly the family dynamic shifted in ways I wasn't prepared for. Chelsea's needs always came first. Chelsea's dreams got funded. Chelsea's happiness mattered more than mine ever had. I'd just graduated college with a design degree that nearly killed me to earn. See, Chelsea's education? Fully funded by my mom and Craig. Mine? Suddenly there were budget constraints and endless lectures about personal responsibility. So I worked. 2 jobs during school, freelance projects on weekends, anything to cover the basics. Living at home after graduation was supposed to be temporary, just long enough to save for my own place. 3 months into my first real job at a design firm, I'd managed to build a small but precious savings account. First month's rent, last month's rent, security deposit. Independence had a price tag, and I was almost there. The comments had been getting sharper in the weeks leading up to my birthday. Must be nice to save money while living rent-free, Mom would say, even though I paid them for groceries and utilities. When I was your age, I gave my parents half my paycheck, Craig would add, like my contributions were pocket change. But the Wednesday before my birthday, things went from uncomfortable to unbelievable. I came home from work to find Chelsea and Dustin already there, their excited voices carrying from the kitchen about some amazing opportunity. After changing out of my work clothes, I joined everyone at the dinner table, finding them in suspiciously good spirits. Kate, we have some exciting news to share with you, Mom said, smiling at Chelsea like she just won the lottery. Chelsea practically bounced in her seat. We're going to the Bahamas next month. Dustin found this incredible package deal for our honeymoon. That sounds amazing, I said, genuinely happy for them. You guys deserve a vacation. Dustin nodded enthusiastically. 5 days, 4 nights, all-inclusive resort. The whole thing comes out to about $10,000. I nearly choked on my chicken. $10,000? That was 4 months of my salary. Wow, that's a lot of money, I managed. Mom's smile tightened just a fraction. Well, that's actually what we wanted to talk to you about. Chelsea leaned forward, eyes bright with expectation. The thing is, we don't actually have the money saved up yet. But we know you do. You've been putting away money in that account for months now. The room went silent except for the sound of Dustin cutting his chicken, completely oblivious to the bomb that had just been dropped. I'm sorry, what? My voice came out higher than normal, disbelief making my stomach clench. Since your family, Mom continued, her tone suggesting this was the most reasonable request in the world, and families help each other out, maybe you could lend Chelsea and Dustin the money for their trip. They'll pay you back, of course. I looked around the table. Mom nodding encouragingly. Craig watching me with an expression that said there was only one right answer. Chelsea hopeful and excited, already mentally packing her suitcase. No. The word came out firmer than I expected. I'm not giving you $10,000 for a vacation. That money is for my future. My apartment fund. My emergency fund. My independence. Craig's face darkened like a storm rolling in. Your future? What about family? What about helping out people who've supported you your whole life? Supported me? My voice cracked. Chelsea's college was completely paid for. Mine wasn't. I've been working and saving every penny while living here and paying you rent and grocery money. This is the first time I've ever been able to save anything substantial, and you want me to just hand it over for a vacation? It's not just a vacation, Mom said sharply. It's their honeymoon. They've been together for 3 years. They deserve something special. Then they should save for it themselves, like I'm saving for my own goals. Craig's hand slammed the table, making the dishes jump and my heart skip. Ungrateful. That's what you are. Completely ungrateful. Your mother and I have given you a roof over your head, food on the table, and this is how you repay us? By hoarding money while your sister needs help? Mom didn't defend me. She just sat there nodding along with Craig's words like I was the villain in this story. I left my dinner half-eaten and went upstairs, their angry voices following me but the words blurring together into white noise. That's when the silent treatment started. 7 days of being invisible in my own home. Mom, who usually had coffee ready and asked about my day, vanished whenever I entered a room. Breakfast became a solo activity while I listened to them laughing in the next room. Even passing in the hallway, she'd look through me like I was made of glass. By Thursday night, with my birthday approaching, I dropped hints like breadcrumbs, hoping someone would remember, hoping this freeze would thaw. So, tomorrow's the big day, I said when I caught Mom in the hallway. She looked at me blankly. What day? My birthday. I'm turning 23. Oh. She shrugged and walked away. Which brings us back to that dining room, that $40 cake, and the moment my family decided to show me exactly where I stood. After her dismissive comment about the cake, Mom reached into her purse and pulled out a white envelope, holding it up like evidence in a trial. My heart leapt for a moment. Maybe this had all been a misunderstanding. Maybe they did remember. This was going to be your birthday present. $500 from Craig and me. She fanned out the bills like playing cards. But after your little performance last week, after you showed us exactly what kind of person you really are, we decided to give it to someone who actually deserves it. She slid the money across the table to Chelsea, who snatched it up with a squeal of delight. Oh my God, thank you so much. This gets us so much closer to the trip fund. I think we only need like 4,000 more now. Chelsea started babbling about resort activities and snorkeling excursions, but her voice faded into static. All I could hear was the buzzing in my ears, the sound of my last hope for this family dissolving. Since you don't want to act like family, Mom continued, each word carefully aimed, we're not going to treat you like family. No birthday celebration, no special dinner, no presents. Nothing. I asked you for one thing, Craig added. One simple thing. Help out your sister when she needed it. And you couldn't even do that. It wasn't a simple thing. It was $10,000. It was family. Mom snapped. But apparently your bank account matters more than that. I stood there holding that cake box, feeling like a child who'd shown up to the wrong party. Looking at Chelsea counting her money, my birthday money, with that huge grin. Looking at Dustin already pulling up resort websites on his phone. Looking at my parents staring at me like I was a stranger who'd wandered into their house uninvited. Nobody even noticed when I left the room. I set the cake on the counter and went upstairs, my footsteps silent on stairs I'd climbed thousands of times before. Sitting on my bed, surrounded by remnants of a childhood that suddenly felt like someone else's life, everything clicked into place. When Craig and Chelsea moved in, my mom didn't just make room for them, she replaced me with them. I thought about my real dad, whom Mom had painted as the villain in our family story. The deadbeat who'd abandoned us when I was 13. She'd made me so angry at him that when he tried to stay in touch, I threw away his letters unopened. He still sent child support, still sent graduation cards, but I tossed them all because Mom said he was just trying to ease his guilt. Maybe she was right about him. But sitting there on my 23rd birthday, in a house where nobody wanted to celebrate my existence, I realized something crucial. I'd been on my own for a lot longer than I'd admitted. Even before tonight, even before the money demand, I'd been handling everything myself while watching my mom bend over backward for her new family. I was tired. Bone deep, soul tired of being the afterthought. Tired of being treated like I should be grateful for basic decency. Tired of watching everyone else get what they wanted while I worked for scraps. That night, I packed everything I owned. Every piece of clothing, every book, every art supply. 4 years of college, 23 years of life, all fitting into boxes and bags. At midnight, I called my friend Leah. "Can I stay with you for a while? Just until I find my own place." "Of course." "What happened?" "I'll tell you tomorrow. I just need to get out of here." Sunday morning, while my parents slept, I loaded my Honda Civic with my entire life. No note. No goodbye. No dramatic exit. Just me, my stuff, and the quiet click of a door closing behind me. Leah's couch wasn't comfortable, but that first morning, sitting in her tiny kitchen with cheap coffee and slightly burnt toast, telling her everything, the money demand, the birthday disaster, all of it, I felt lighter than I had in years. "They really took your birthday money and gave it to your stepsister?" Leah asked, eyes wide with disbelief. Right in front of me. Like I wasn't even worth the pretense of caring. "That's not family," Leah said firmly. "That's emotional abuse." The word abuse made me flinch. It seemed too harsh, too dramatic for what I'd experienced. But wasn't that exactly what had happened? Years of being slowly pushed aside, made to feel less worthy, less important, less loved? My phone buzzed that evening. A text from Mom, "Where are you?" I stared at it for a long time before typing back, "I moved out." Her response came immediately, "Okay." That was it. Not "come home." Not "let's talk." Not even "are you safe?" Just acknowledgement that I was gone, like a house guest who'd finally taken the hint. 2 weeks later, I found a studio apartment 20 minutes from work. The rent ate up half my salary, and the bathroom was basically a closet, but it was mine. Every second-hand piece of furniture, every thrift store find, every cheap meal, they were all choices I made for myself. The first year was brutal. Overtime whenever I could get it, instant noodles most nights, furniture cobbled together from garage sales and curb alerts. But I was happy. Actually, genuinely happy in a way I hadn't been since before Mom remarried. My family didn't call. Christmas came and went in silence. My next birthday passed without a word. It was like I'd been erased from their history, edited out of the family photos. Then, out of nowhere, my real dad called. I almost didn't answer the unknown number, but something made me pick up. "Kate? This is your father." 8 years since I'd heard his voice. It sounded older, more careful, like he was afraid I'd hang up. "Dad?" The word felt foreign in my mouth. "I heard you had some kind of falling out with your mother. I was wondering if we could meet up and talk." My first instinct was to hang up. Mom had spent years telling me what a terrible person he was. But sitting in my little studio apartment, completely cut off from everyone I'd grown up with, I thought, what did I have to lose? We met at a coffee shop downtown. He looked older, grayer, but his eyes were the same eyes I remembered from before everything fell apart. "I'm sorry," he said immediately. "For everything. For leaving, for not fighting harder to stay in your life, for believing your mother when she said you didn't want to see me. She said you abandoned us. I left the marriage. I never wanted to leave you." His voice cracked. "Your mother made it clear that any contact with me would make things harder for you. She said you were angry and didn't want to see me. I kept sending cards, hoping you'd change your mind, but when you never responded, I threw them away. Mom said you were just trying to make yourself feel better." He nodded sadly. "I figured as much. But I never stopped hoping. When I heard through the grapevine that you'd moved out, that there was some big fight, I thought maybe now we could try again." We talked for 3 hours. He told me about his wife Rachel, who sounded genuinely kind. He told me about his construction company, how he'd followed my college graduation online because he wasn't allowed to come. He apologized about 100 times. "I want to be in your life again, if you'll let me," he said as we prepared to leave. I know I have a lot to make up for. I surprised myself by saying yes. Rachel turned out to be everything a step-parent should be: warm, welcoming, genuinely interested in my life. She remembered details about my work, asked about my friends, treated me like I mattered. It was bizarre having a step-parent who actually seemed to like having me around. 3 years passed. 3 years of Sunday dinners with Dad and Rachel. 3 years of building a relationship I never thought I'd have. 3 years of silence from my mother's house. When I turned 26, Dad and Rachel threw me a surprise party. Nothing huge, just a few of their friends and Rachel's sister, but everyone was there for me. The cake had my name on it. The decorations were in my favorite colors. When Dad handed me an envelope, I expected maybe a gift card or some cash. Instead, there were house keys. "It's small," he said quickly, nervously. "Just a 2-bedroom, but it's in a good neighborhood, and the mortgage is paid off. I thought maybe you'd like to stop throwing money away on rent." I stared at the keys, then at him, then at Rachel, who was grinning like she'd been keeping the world's best secret. "You bought me a house? You're my daughter. You deserve to have something that's really yours." I burst into tears right there in their living room. Happy tears, shocked tears, grateful tears. I couldn't remember the last time someone had done something for me just because they wanted to make me happy. The house was perfect. Small but cozy, with a little yard and big windows that let in tons of light. I spent weeks painting and decorating, buying real furniture instead of the secondhand stuff I'd been making do with. A month later, I posted a picture on social media, me standing in front of my house, keys in hand, with the caption, "So grateful to have my own place finally." The phone rang while I was unpacking kitchen boxes. Mom's name on the caller ID made my stomach clench. "Kate, honey," her voice was all sweet gentleness, like we talked every day. "I saw your picture. The house looks beautiful. I was just wondering where you got the money to buy something like that." Of course. Not congratulations. Not "I'm proud of you." Not even "how have you been?" Just immediate suspicion about money. "That's none of your business. Honey, I'm your mother. I'm just concerned. On your salary, there's no way you could afford something like that. I hope you didn't get involved in anything questionable." Questionable? Seriously? "I just want to make sure you're okay. Maybe we could get together and talk. I've missed you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to see you. I'm fine without you." I hung up and went back to unpacking, but my hands were shaking. Even after 3 years, she could still get under my skin. A few weeks later, I was in my backyard planting flowers when I heard voices in my driveway. Looking up, I saw them, Mom, Craig, Chelsea, and Dustin walking toward my front door like they owned the place. I met them on the porch. "What are you doing here?" They pushed past me into my house without waiting for an invitation. I watched them take in everything, the hardwood floors, the new furniture, the art on the walls. Chelsea's eyes were practically glowing with envy. "This is nice," Craig said, running his hand along my granite countertop. "Real nice. Must have cost a fortune. How did you afford this?" Mom demanded. "I know what you make, and it's not enough for a house like this. My father gave it to me." Mom's face went bright red. "That bastard. That absolute bastard. He abandons his family and then comes back throwing money around like some kind of hero?" "He didn't abandon me. He left you. Big difference. He's a traitor who walked out on his responsibilities." "You want to talk about traitors?" My voice was rising now. "You're the one who picked your new family over your own daughter. You're the one who took my birthday money and gave it to Chelsea. You're the one who treated me like garbage." Before Mom could respond, Chelsea jumped in. "Look, this is all ancient history. The important thing is that Dustin and I got married last year and we're having a baby. I'm 3 months pregnant." I stared at her. "Congratulations, I guess. We need a place to live," she continued. "Dustin's job isn't going great, and we can't afford much on our own." "That sucks, but it's not my problem." Mom stepped forward. "Actually, it is your problem. You don't deserve a house like this. You should give it to Chelsea and the baby. I actually laughed. Are you insane? Why would I give away my house? Because you owe it to your family. You broke us apart with your selfishness, and now you need to make amends. I broke you apart. You guys disowned me because I wouldn't fund Chelsea's vacation. You chose money over family, Craig said. And now you need to choose family over money. Get out. All of you, get out of my house right now. We're not leaving until you agree to do the right thing, Chelsea said, crossing her arms like a stubborn child. Then I'm calling the police. I pulled out my phone. That got them moving. They filed out, calling me selfish and ungrateful and worse. I locked the door behind them and immediately called Dad. They want me to give Chelsea my house, I told him, still shaking. They actually think I should just hand it over because she's pregnant. Document everything, he said calmly. If they keep harassing you, we'll need evidence. And they did keep harassing me. For almost a month, my phone rang constantly. Voicemails from Mom about family obligations and guilt. Texts from Chelsea about how I was ruining her child's future. Even Dustin left messages about how heartless I was being. They called me selfish, greedy, cold. Said I'd always been jealous of Chelsea. Said I was a terrible person who didn't deserve good things. Some of the messages were straight up threats about what would happen if I didn't do the right thing. I saved everything. Screenshots, voicemails, all of it. After a month of this harassment, I gave it all to the lawyer Dad hired. The cease and desist letter basically said, leave Kate alone or face legal consequences for harassment, threats, and attempted property theft. The messages stopped within a week. Complete silence, just like that. That was 6 months ago. I still live in my little house, still work at the design firm, still have dinner with Dad and Rachel every Sunday. My life is quiet and peaceful and mine. I hear things through mutual friends sometimes. Chelsea had her baby, a little girl. Mom tells everyone who'll listen that I abandoned my family because I'm obsessed with money. She plays the victim, acts like she has no idea why I cut contact. I don't bother defending myself. The people who matter know the truth. The people who don't matter can believe whatever they want. I'm 27 now, and I finally understand what it feels like to be valued. Dad asks about my work, remembers my friends' names, celebrates my achievements. Rachel sends me recipes and funny videos. They treat me like I belong in their life. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd given Chelsea that money 3 years ago. I'd probably still be living in my childhood bedroom, still being treated like an afterthought, still watching everyone else get what they wanted while I got nothing. Instead, I'm here in my own house, in my own life, surrounded by people who actually care about me. I chose myself, and it was the best decision I ever made. That birthday cake I left on the counter? Mom texted me a week later saying they'd thrown it away untouched. Such a waste of money, she wrote. But she was wrong. That $40 cake was the best investment I ever made because it showed me exactly what I was worth to them, nothing. And once you know you're worth nothing to someone, you're free to go find the people who know you're worth everything. Thanks for listening, and if you liked this story, share it with others who might need to hear that sometimes walking away is the bravest choice you can make. Don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about finding your true family in unexpected places. Sometimes the price of freedom is just one birthday cake away.